Hello again, Michael Ware with IFC's Warrior Wednesday. We have Amy Lovato on with us. Why don't you walk us through your introduction so that I don't grab onto that. I start by talking too much, Amy. You got to forgive me.
No problem.
Go. Let us know who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for having me today. I'm really blessed and grateful to be here. My name is Amy Lovato, and I am a current NRA board member. I'm also a proud member of the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. And I was also the founder, or am the founder of the Women's Shooting Sports League in New York City that is continuing on today after, oh my gosh, I think we're up to almost 20 years now of that wonderful thing that's going on in New York City. I'm also the granddaughter of Colonel Jeff Cooper, the father of the modern pistol technique. So it's in my blood, it's in my DNA, and I'm carrying the torch today for my family and my country, and I'm just so grateful.
That's fantastic. I don't know which rabbit to chase first. Setting up women's shooting in New York, being integral in New Jersey, and Colonel Cooper's grandkid. Choose one. Let's run with it.
Well, let's start with my background. I grew up shooting since I was about the age of 10. We always had firearms in my home. Obviously, my parents teaching me safety and responsibility with firearms, that we did not touch them unless we knew how to use them properly. My father and my brother were hunters, so I was used to having hunters in my family, and we would have wonderful meals of things that they hunted and brought home. And I grew up going to gun sight. Again, I started shooting at around the age of 10. My grandfather taught me how to shoot, pistol and rifle. And I grew up primarily in Texas and Michigan, but we would go to gun sites to learn how to shoot. And it's part of my upbringing, and my grandfather and my grandmother taught me so many wonderful things about our precious Second Amendment and how to responsibly use firearms. And funny enough, when I went to Africa 2 times with my grandparents, I was blessed enough to do that. He said it was absolutely imperative. You will not go with me unless you know how to use a rifle, a scout rifle, which I used, which he designed in Africa. So I'm so grateful that we had that opportunity to go hunting, and that he taught me at Gunsight and Thunder Ranch how to use a firearm, the scout rifle, properly, to hunt properly. And it was a fabulous experience because I got to take so many animals hunting as a result of the training that I received from him at Gunsight and Thunder Ranch. So again, it's in my blood and my DNA. It's what I grew up with and what I believe in so thoroughly. And I'm just so happy to be able to pay that forward to other people.
Wow. That must have been quite an upbringing. That must have been a lot of fun. So, So where were you hunting? Where were you headed?
Well, the first time we went to South Africa, and just to South Africa itself, we went to Ngonyamane, Donnie von Grahn's hunting camp there. And then when we went back the second time, we went there again, and then we went to Botswana. So that was incredible, because we were out in the middle of nowhere in tents. And to listen to nature and all the amazing wild animals that were surrounding us at night, and being able to track animals in the quote unquote jungles there. It was just an incredible experience. So I got to go twice to those places, and again, just outstanding opportunity.
Would you remember what years?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. So that was probably about 2000, and anywhere from 1999 to about 2003, in that time frame in there.
I'm trying to think through my history of South Africa. Things would have been quite as hot then as a little bit before, but South Africa's had a lot of trouble over the years, and I'm hearing some stories from friends and outfitters there that it's heating back up quite a little bit. But it's quite something to travel and see other cultures. I've got friends that are like, oh, yes, I travel in today. I'm like, okay, where have you been? And then they'll say something like, oh, Puerto Vallarta, Cabo.
Right.
I know, dude. No, you're shepherd,
Yeah.
all the way to the resort, and then they tell you, don't leave the resort. Like, that's not going and seeing other cultures. That's not moving into the landscape and seeing how others live and how they behave and why and what are traditions and rituals there, the way others behave. It's not the same. So I'm glad you had that experience. And how old were you? Remember, were you just a pup?
I'm sorry, Michael, say that again.
Were you just a pup? How old were you?
I was in my early 20s then. I was in my early
Okay.
20s. So, but that's a experience I'll never forget. I mean, it's something I share with my children. We have wonderful scrapbooks, and I show them, what I was doing at that age and how we were hunting responsibly, and what an incredible, hunting is. I don't know if there's, some people are for hunting, some people are not. I mean, hunting is much more than just hunting the animal. I mean, you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
nature, you get closer to God. It's therapeutic in a way, what you're experiencing out in nature. And I had an amazing PH and trackers with me, just watching them work. I mean, how close they were, it's almost like they were listening and one with the animal. It was just a supernatural experience. And even if we had people that were just observing what we were doing, and it was life changing for them. That's what happened to my aunt the first time. She was just observing, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I have to try this, myself. So just to introduce people to hunting by observing, or even if you're sitting in a blind, I mean, the experiences that you have out in nature, even if you're not using your firearm, it's just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think that the description translates well between hunters and non-hunters, or maybe I should say hunters and hunters yet to be. Maybe that's an apt description, because I'm not saying in any way that I'm a good tracker, because I am not. But I was taught a little bit about it by my uncles, who were pretty fair at it. I mean, nothing like what I've seen and seen described by others. But I can remember in Northwest Missouri when we would go here deer hunting every now and then. You wouldn't have a great shot, or something would go amiss, and you'd have to track a deer for a ways, right?
Yes.
And I can remember these guys basically bent over, staring at the ground, walking along, staring at every leaf. And that would go on for a quarter mile or a half mile at a pop. And I can remember one time I'm not saying I did well. I didn't track in any measurable sense, Amy. What I did is I got lucky, but I'll take it. Sometimes you have to have that. So we had tracked this animal. It had crossed the river, went up the other side, out into this big field that was in a valley, and there was dense timber on both sides. And I'm guessing the field was maybe, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile deep and maybe a quarter mile wide, something like that. Fresh picked corn, stalks everywhere. And I'm like, oh, geez, I think that recovering this deer is very, very low likelihood. And Michael's like, get bent over and start looking for blood. So we all went different directions, and those guys are like, I'm sure he went up here. And so off they went up in towards the timber, and I went the other way because I thought that I could maybe see some ground disturbed, but you can't tell. And I got way, way, way from where they were. And it was almost as if I could hear them saying, oh, he's a good kid, but he's so stupid. They didn't actually say it, but I could feel it. And I'm like, dude, I found blood. And there was this little drip, the size of a pea. And I'm like, and I held it up. I'm like, right here. And so they were like, okay, fine. So we ended up recovering the animal. Again, not because I had tracking ability, because I had luck, but the sense of accomplishment for having, luckily, just pure luck, happen across this little drip that sent us the right direction. That
Yes.
felt pretty good. And then you watch these people that are trackers in every sense of that word, and they do understand which pieces of grass or foliage or whatever else have been recently disturbed, a scuff mark through the dirt, and what part of a hoof that may represent. You know what I'm saying? And to look at that stuff and see them do their work, it's unbelievable. It is an art form. I have a tremendous respect.
I mean, and they weren't even using words. I mean, they were using motions, or because they didn't want to disturb anything. I mean, just watching them, it was such an education in how they really were understanding animals. it was phenomenal. I mean, if you ever get the chance, if people out there ever get the chance to do that, I highly encourage it.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's like, as I said, it's one thing to watch a documentary or be part of it out in the wild a little bit, but it's quite something else to immerse yourself in another culture or see something like that firsthand. I'm glad that you were able to experience it. I'd love to do that someday.
I hope you get to.
Thank you. So, so you, Colonel Cooper took you hunting. Not very many people probably get to say that, do they?
No, it was a select group, and when he was advanced in years, he tried to do a few hunting trips to be able to make sure that people that wanted to go with him were able to do so. So I just remember, though, this one experience when I was hunting a baboon, and that's something he really wanted to see me do because it was so challenging. I mean, I basically had to climb a mountain. I felt like G.I. Jane. I had the scout rifle slung on my back, and I was climbing a mountain, climbing with my hands. And then we see the baboon in the distance, and sitting on a ledge eating an orange. And I crept up, and I went prone, and I aimed, and I got him on the first shot. But then we had to go retrieve the baboon when he fell off the cliff, and that in itself. And now my grandfather wasn't able to climb the mountain, but when he saw that, I mean, he was ecstatic, and I was shocked. I'm like, I can't believe I just did that. Now, and baboons are nasty animals, and they eat the crops, and they're nasty to the other animals, and they really wanted to. They're not upset when a baboon is taken out. So I felt like I was almost doing a favor to help the farmers, but just the experience itself was pretty phenomenal to be able to experience, and for my grandfather to see me do something like that was really neat.
I remember visiting with some fellas that were back from safari, and when I tell people that I'm a member of Safari Club, a lot of them don't understand. And in fact, I would tell you most people don't. They're like, "Oh, there's no reason to go shoot all those animals over there. They don't want them shot." And I'm like, you're not right about that at all. There is a balance that is struck with nature based on numbers, which is continually changing, and removing species in certain numbers in certain ways in certain places is absolutely paramount to making that happen. I remember this gentleman telling me that he had worked for years to put himself in a position to go shoot a couple of Dugga boys. I mean, the Cape buffalo, right? And so he's over there and he's preparing for his hunt. And I don't know who got word to who. I don't remember any of that part of the story, Amy. But basically, he was called on to come over here. We need you to dispatch this cat. Well, I'm here to do this, and I've invested a great deal of money and time to do this. No, we need the help. And so he went over to do that. And what he found out was, if he didn't find the cat and dispatch it for them, because it had been wreaking havoc on the villagers and all kinds of other stuff, right? It was a big problem. What they do, or what they were prepared to do if he couldn't, is to go out and, they would probably kill an elephant or something very large and then poison it, so that everything that came to eat off it will be poisoned, including the cat, and it would dispatch the cat. But untold number of other animals, birds and other things, would be feasting on this big animal in the meantime, and they would all go off and die too. So he was able to go do that. Unfortunately, he wasn't actually able to complete the hunt that he traveled all the way there for and paid for, but he was able to help the villagers in this area with this problem. I guess, I don't know if you'd call it something turned man-eater or not. I don't know if that's a correct term, but he was able to do that and make a big difference on the balance of everything else in that neighborhood, simply because the locals didn't choose to resort to poisoning this thing that would poison everything else. And I thought about that for a long time, and it was a really good example. And I'm like, well, why don't you guys tell those stories so the public has a better understanding? Because there's a lot of people who don't get that. Like, well, nobody appears to be listening. So I try and help with that story when I can. It's not my own, but I do share it. And I think that people don't understand that kind of hunt. So I'm really glad that you're able to go do that.
Yeah, because well, one thing that I remember too about some, the government would go out and you know, cull elephants. So if the hunters weren't doing, taking the populations of animals down, the government was going to do it anyway because it had to keep the balance. So I say, whether or not you're an advocate of hunting, at least with hunters, they're responsible. The money that they pay to hunt goes back into conservation. You're actually eating when the villagers were taking the meat and parts of the animals that we were not using. So we were basically feeding people in that environment and actually doing it in a humane way. And the money that we were used to hunting was going back into conservation. So to me, if hunters are almost doing you a favor, it's a very humane thing. And I know people can be very against it, but the alternative can be ugly. So that's why I think you might not want to hunt, but I think you should still support hunters that are doing the right thing. I mean, there's a difference between poaching and hunting, and they're very strict about poachers. And so that's very different from hunting. So I think people need to understand exactly where responsible hunters are coming from. And then maybe they would be more advocates of hunting.
Yeah, you're right about that. So when I think of Colonel Cooper, the first things that I think of, to give you an idea. So I'm 51. And I've been reading and doing these things and traveling in these circles for a number of years now. So one of the things that quickly comes to mind when I think of Colonel Cooper is this color code chart of awareness, situational awareness, so to speak. And I have gone over this in great detail with my daughter, who's now 16. And I'm not saying that she's perfect in her situational awareness, but I would tell you, she's light years ahead of most of the people that I see her around. And it's kind of interesting when you go on a trip or you're doing whatever else, or, my wife's in somewhere shopping and I'm not going to be part of that, right? I'll find a park bench, or my daughter will come by, we'll sit on it and we'll just sit there. It's quietly and people watch everybody, and everybody's in white. They're in that white code. And every now and then you'll see somebody in yellow. And I look over to my daughter to see if she sees them, and then she'll look over at me and we'll be like, yeah, that person was situationally aware. And then, then it's kind of funny. I'll say to my daughter, I'm like, what do you think? Cop or Army? She's like, oh, Army for sure. So you see a lot of people who are in law enforcement, a lot of people that are military, especially recent. They're paying attention. And then the balance of the population, as you know, isn't paying attention at all. So that contribution with that color code chart and what it means and how you can adopt it and apply it and use it in your life has been absolutely instrumental for me. So your granddad is still touching me, and now my daughter and hopefully her kids on down the line. That's heavy. I mean, has that changed your life in ways that you care to share, or is that an inappropriate question?
I think sometimes people think I'm nuts because, again, I was just brought up that way. I mean, and I guess probably the most impressive thing about my grandfather, he was about saving lives. He's like, anything I can do to save your life, the color codes, the proper way to use the firearm, to be always one step ahead of the enemy. The color codes save people's lives. If you practice the color codes, 9 times out of 10, you will be able to be a safe person and people will not come after you. That was his mantra. If they want the perpetrator wants to go after the person not paying attention. And what's happening now is because everyone's walking around with your phone, your head in your phone, you're not paying attention, you're not looking around, you don't have that situational awareness, especially all these young people. I mean, I see people in my own town walking down the street, crossing a street with their head in their phone. And I'm like, don't you even crossing the street, you have to have situational awareness, and it will make you a safer person and could potentially save your life if you are practicing the color code. But we live in a society where people are just checking out for all different types of reasons. And for the people that do follow the color code, like your daughter, you and your daughter, I'm sure it makes a heck of a lot of difference. And I wish more people would adhere to it because I feel it's very, very important.
This is fortuitous. I didn't plan this. As we have these discussions, the people listening won't notice this, but the people watching will. There's little tickers going across the bottom of the screen. I didn't arrange this special for today, and I did not place this in the lineup for where we're at in this conversation. But for the benefit of the listeners, this is a quote from Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Cooper: "An unarmed man can only flee from evil, and evil is not overcome by fleeing from it." So that's the crux of what we're talking about. Sometimes these things are upon you, whether you like it or not, and you're going to deal with it or you're going to succumb to it. Well, I think that it's not inappropriate at all to try and deal with it as best you can. So being prepared is chief among the things that's going to allow you to deal with it. And that's so right. So, so let's move into a little bit about your work with the folks in New York. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so the Women's Shooting Sports League, WSSL, or Whistle as it's called, has been around for close to 20 years. And that was basically birthed out of a group of us put together NRA Women on Target event in New York City many, many years ago. And one of the instructors came up to me and said, "Amy, let's keep these women shooting. How do we make that happen?" So it was birthed out of one of those programs, and we started it as a very informal group, basically for alumni of the Women on Target programs to come back on a monthly basis, to come and learn responsibility and safety with firearms, and just to have a lot of fun. So once we put the word out, women from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds and races, I mean, it's such an eclectic group, all the different types of women that attended the event. And many of them were even scared of firearms. Like, I'm scared, that's why I'm here. Or I want to learn how to defend myself, even with these draconian laws. So once they realized they could come and have fun and improve my marksmanship, they just kept coming and coming. And it's been, and thank God I have, instructors there that keep it going as well, because it's still going, because believe it or not, in that type of an environment, women still want to come and learn how to shoot. They want to do it the right way, and they want to have fun. We do the NRA Marksmanship Qualification Program there, so they can actually take these targets and improve their marksmanship, and they get different rockers that they can wear on a coat and such to say, look, I can do this. This is empowering. And to learn it is definitely an art form. You definitely have to know what you're doing to improve your marksmanship skills, but it's also about just having a lot of fun. And it's been going ever since, right there in the belly of the beast in New York City. And I feel like if it can happen there, it can happen in any city. We just have to have the people to mobilize and do it.
I think that's one of the biggest calls that most organizations have, Second Amendment advocates, the civil rights groups across the board, is we need engagement from people who are willing to pitch in and help out. And I don't think there's a shortage of people who would do it. I think there's a shortage of people who can move past their comfort zone in trying to help. What I would encourage people that listen to this and that are listening near you, Amy, or out here in Iowa, is, what? You may not know where you fit. Maybe you just need to go. Maybe you just need to look around and say, I think I could do that. Or talk to the organizers and saying, is there anywhere you're looking for help? Or these are the things that I am comfortable with now. How may I fit? And honest to goodness, I don't know why. I think it's just the way that women are wired. I think that women do that better than men. At least that's been my experience. It seems like a lot of the women that I have worked with are able to self-assess and place themselves better, or communicate more effectively among other women in order to integrate. The guys don't do that with as much ease. Do you see that, or am I wrong about that?
Well, I love men, trust me, but women tend to be better listeners, especially when they're being instructed, because there's no ego or pride there, right? But I have a lot of phenomenal male instructors. I love them. They're great. But women, they tend to be a little bit maybe more coachable when they're learning. But I would encourage women, who want to go and volunteer, bring a male friend with you, bring a spouse, bring a partner, and vice versa. I mean, you can do this as a team. even if someone's intimidated, bring someone of the, of the other gender to come in and help out. We're all in this together. We all have to join this fight together to move it forward. So whether you're a youth or a male or a female, and if you're intimidated, then bring someone with you, or reach out to the person that's the volunteer coordinator and say, look, this is my skill set. This is what I'm comfortable with, what I'm not comfortable with. I'd like to come and have a discussion. And again, just bring someone with you. And I think that would definitely help.
I've got a few thoughts running through my mind, and I guess I'll just kind of blurt one out there. You mentioned youth, and I've been thinking about this a lot because the NRA was kind enough to invest in my daughter recently. She went out to the NRA Yes program, the Youth Education Summit. So her and 30 some other kids from all over the United States descended upon the DC area. NRA took them through the headquarters, the museum, shooting, basically a textbook taste of the area, DC and all the things that it had to offer. And they taught them, they coached them up, they gave them homework before with topics to debate on, and then they actually did that individually, in group form, whatever else. It was phenomenal for her growth, and I think that the goal truly was to help the kids understand. I shouldn't say kids, nearly adults, help them understand the truth of the Second Amendment, and to build some force multipliers to go back out to where you came from and do some work on behalf of this thing that's better than ourselves, right? And so I really appreciated that. And I keep referring to my daughter as a kid, but I don't think that she is that anymore, or she's moving away from that. And one of the other things that I've noticed in myself, Amy, is I have a tendency, or I have a habit of thinking that maybe the kids don't have as much to offer because they don't have as much knowledge or haven't been down the path as far as I have. And I think that that's an improper assessment on my part. I think that they've got a lot to offer. And oh, by the way, if we're not talking with them, if we're not integrating them, if we're not allowing them to bring their concerns to us so that we can either manage, share them, or be impacted by them, we're not really doing this well. And I think about that a lot more. A week ago, I visited with my cousin who was a career musician and music teacher, and went to work as a music pastor in a relatively small church that's grown from like 400 or 500 people to 2,000 in just like 5 years. And I said, well, that's phenomenal growth. How is it that you've managed that? And he's like, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be like. And I said, okay, what was it like? And he said, we've had overwhelming success through youth programs that have led to church growth. And I'm like, well, how? He said, well, the kids who were interested and involved were encouraged to bring their friends. And then they came in and participated in youth group and this, and then regular services. Next thing you know, they're being baptized. And what they found is the kids' behaviors changed. They didn't speak the same. They didn't think the same. They didn't act the way they did before. Through having a sense of purity about what they wanted to do and how they wanted to change the trajectory of their lives, their parents who weren't churchgoers or their other friends and family noticed these fundamental changes in these kids. And then they decided, maybe I should go to church instead of me dropping this kid off, for an hour and a half every day and coming to pick her up. Maybe I need to go inside the building and figure it out for myself. And by having connected with the younger generations, the younger crowds, it affected all these other things. And I wonder if the Second Amendment's like that too. It's just we haven't done a good job of doing that. So I lay that out there to say, what is it that you're doing with the youth? Because I know that as an NRA board member, you're on that committee. So would you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I think the key for that is also kind of looking right now with the youth at Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Royal Rangers, 4-H Club, really trying to, the kids that are already coming to these programs, we're looking to bring more of them into the fold for the shooting sports. It's fun. Let's go out and have fun with the shooting sports. Yes, self-defense is part of that, but getting more opportunities with families, moms and dads, friends, bring a youth with you to go hunting or go and when you go to the range. Like I bring my son to the range, and my daughter wants to learn too. She's a little bit younger, but bring the youth with you wherever you're going, just to expose them. When I was a biathlete, which was phenomenal experience because I'm a runner. So when the NYSRPA had, when I was doing biathlons, I would bring my son, my daughter wasn't born then, to come and watch me running and shooting with firearms, just to expose them to what, because sometimes it's like people are scared or it's a mystery. Just expose them to what they're doing when they're young and teach them the right way. Eddie Eagle is a phenomenal program for youth. When we go in February back to the Great American Outdoor Show, we have a huge Eddie Eagle tent where the kids come and they learn, don't touch the gun, tell an adult, walk away, teaching them when they're young about firearms and bringing them into the fold early. But again, I think it all comes down to, if something is already happening and you're a part of it, bring a youth with you. Or if the youth is going to a camp, try to get them involved with the shooting sports when they're already in an environment where that's happening. And I think that's right. Right now, I think that's something we really need to focus on. And that's what our committee is focusing on too. And we have a lot of phenomenal youth programs that are, you mentioned the YES program. Again, all on the NRA website for women and for youth. It's all laid out there, and the NRA is really doing a good job of putting these programs out there. We just need people to join in and to at least try. Yeah. I think that's important, to at least give it a try. I always say this, a lot of my women, you have to try it at least once. And a lot of them try, some of them try and say, okay, it's not for me, but at least I tried and I know. But please don't not at least try. You have to at least try once, and then you figure out if it's for you or not. And it might change your life if you try it, but you got to at least try.
We should be doing that in every aspect of life. There might be a few that are age considerations, and the offer this in the premise of taking our kids with us where we go so they can have these experiences. I grew up as a little boy going with my dad to all the things that he was part of. I can remember going to ham radio festivals. I can remember going to city council meetings, water board meetings, emergency management, county supervisors. I can remember going. My dad participated or was in or in a lot of those things, right? Or presented at them. I can remember going to those things and being like the only little pup sitting at the end of a long conference room table, often bored, I'll admit. But it helped shape the ability to visit with people and to kind of grow a larger empathy gland, so I could relate to people and understand their concerns, so I could help or at least have a decent understanding of what their concerns were, whether I could manage them or not. And you move forward into what you're saying about you owe it to yourself and others to give this a try. You really do. I mean, how does this work if we retreat into our shells and we don't ever try anything new, or we're unwilling to give it a whirl? It's not the sense of adventure that's built into us. I mean, God rolls up and he says to Abraham, who's quite cushy, by the way, he says, hey, I need you to go over there. And Abraham may not realize it at that point. Well, actually, but he's being told, I'm going to send you on the adventure of a lifetime, and it's going to be really bad and really good. But he needed to go on this adventure, and he did. And look at all the things that happened. So I think that that's part of it. Our sense of adventure dictates that we do some of these things or do them anyway with enthusiasm. And I want to see people get out and do it. I really, really do. Tell us about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to say, and the media is not our friend in this. You have to, if the media is telling you, please do the opposite, because the media is going to tell you to be scared, to not get involved. And again, you have to take the risk and just go for it and say yes and just try it, because the media is going to give you a lot of misinformation. So you have to trust the person that's bringing you, that wants to show you something that could be really, really good for you.
It's interesting you talk about the media, because I'm becoming, or after much time and consideration, I'm taking a different look at the media than I have for a number of years. Many people will tell you, and I happen to agree with this, that the media has an agenda and they want to tell you A, B, and C. And I think that that's right. But I think that there's another facet to this that's equally complex and disturbing. And it's that I would like for people to adopt the idea or consider adopting the idea that it isn't just that media are offering you something they want you to digest. The antithesis of that is also true. They're withholding from you things that they prefer you not know.
Mhm.
And
That's
ask
right.
yourself in life, who has deliberately withheld information from you, and have those people been A, your friends, or B, trustworthy? And without any kind of trust, it's very, very hard to live in the world. So I want people to start considering media that way, not only what they're saying, but the fact that they're at the crossroads of information and they're withholding from you.
That's right.
And that should offer you an idea or a glimpse into them. And you should have a healthy distrust for anybody that deliberately withholds from you. I
I
want
agree.
people to think about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
but I think that they're scared. No, I was just saying about knowledge, right? That the government doesn't want you to have knowledge. The media doesn't want you to have knowledge because then you're thinking for yourself and then you will be able to self-regulate. And they don't want that.
Yeah, there's
So,
I'll come back to that. There's something I'd like to visit with you about that. I'll pull up here on another screen. I'm not paying attention to you, but will you start walking through the road that led you to decide I want to run for NRA's board, and once I get there, if I do, how I'd like to participate? Will you run through that real quick?
yeah, personally, how my personal experience, Michael.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I started going to NRA meetings back in 1997 when we had our annual meeting in Philadelphia. When my grandparents, I wanted to see my grandparents and spend more time with them because I was on the East Coast and they were in Arizona. So I said, well, I'm going to just meet up with you. I want to see you. I want to experience I had been a life member since I was practically born. My grandparents bought me an NRA life membership, which, by the way, I'm encouraging people to become an NRA member, even when they're little. Sign them up. We're all in this together. So once I was exposed to that, and I kept going every year, I would go back to these meetings wherever the meetings were. If they were in DC, for the regular board meetings where my grandfather was on the board for over 30 years, or the annual meetings, I learned more about it. I was getting the truth. Some of these people were the best people I had ever encountered in my life. There was something special about them. They loved our country. They were patriots. They were good people. They were not these criminals that the media was trying to portray. And once I learned the truth, I'm like, man, I really want to be involved with this. So I talked to Sandy Froman, who was the president at the time. I said, Sandy, I really want to be involved. What can I do? She's like, well, you come to the meetings anyway. Let's put you on some committees. So as a non-board member, I started, I did the outreach committee, which used to be urban affairs committee. I did the sports shooting committee. I was on the women's committee for a long time. So I would come and I would sit on these committees to try to help the NRA. And then eventually I said, oh my gosh, I've been on committees for 25 years. I don't want to do something more. So I decided to run for the board, and by the grace of God and all the people that voted for me, which I'm very grateful, this is going into my third year as a board member, and I'm up for re-election going into next year. So I would love to be able to continue. I feel like I'm doing, very positive, great work, and surrounded by a lot of great people, and we're moving forward as patriots for our country, to educate more people, get more people involved. We want to be a team. We want every American to be involved with what we're doing because it's the crux of our Constitution. We have to protect our Second Amendment. We have to. Whether you're a hunter or shooter or not, if you're just a patriot American, we're all in this together. So I'm just very happy and grateful to be on the board, and I hope it continues for many years to come.
I hope so too. So what were you placed on certain committees, or did you raise your hand and say, I prefer this, I prefer that?
Good question. Yes, Bill Valkenburg, the current president, asked me, what my preferences were, and I turned in my list, and then I was placed based on my background on talents. I'm also a teacher, and so I have a background with youth. I have 2 kids at home. I've been on the women's policies for many, many years. I was also, sports shooting was the Women's Shooting Sports League. So it was my background. They pair your talents with your interests, how you can best thrive and support the organization. So that's how I got on my committees.
Okay. All right. You mentioned earlier, and it kind of struck a chord with me, that the media, that government, other places would prefer that we didn't have knowledge. I don't know if I agree 100% with that statement. And it's granted something that you were in the heat of the moment. I know what you meant, and you're right about that. But I don't really mind if people think that you and I are a couple of crackpots by having said that, because there are people out there who may. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know the context. But I think that it's safe to say that we're interested not in data or information per se, but we're actually interested in knowledge. But what really happens is there's a framework that allows us to either use or not use knowledge, and that places us in a position of wisdom. And I always come back to, well, you mentioned you're a teacher. Have you ever read any of T.S. Eliot stuff?
Yes, a long time ago. Love him. Yes, very
Okay,
profound.
so there's in the opening stanza of this poem, The Rock, and I'll get down to the important part. Where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? And where is the knowledge we have lost in information? And I spoke with the gentleman many times about this. He's become a mentor of mine. I'm very grateful to have him. And he's like, well, do you understand what's happening there? I said, I think that I do. And we walk through it, and we continue to walk through it over and over. Information is just data. It's just things that we gather. And then we put it together in a framework that tends to work or not work. And that's knowledge. And we're very grateful to have that. But the problem is that there are times that we need to use that knowledge. And there are times that we hadn't ought to use that knowledge. And I think that's where the wisdom part comes in. And you get wisdom by having looked deeply at the Second Amendment to understand what those words mean and meant at the time that they were offered, and the reason that they were offered, and what those words meant then, and understand what they still mean today, quite literally. And so you don't have to work very hard within that framework to apply knowledge and have it become wisdom. And I'm always appreciative of the founders and the framers of the nation, because they were pretty shrewd. They were very smart people. And they had lived a great deal of life under all kinds of horrible circumstances, tyranny and what else, which led them to say, listen, we were this close, and I mean this close to losing the whole thing. I mean, right. we were just a few thousand men from it being over before the Revolutionary War changed directions. And, you know, if you listen to some people, it's, oh, golly. McCullough, is it David McCullough that wrote all those books? And okay, I've listened to some of his transcripts from places that he was taped and read some of his books, and he espouses that it was essentially divine intervention. He's like, it was over. We were shredded. We were done. It was kaput. People were they were fleeing. I mean, you talk about people. You know, you go to sleep and there's 150 people outside the tent, and you come out and there's 7. You know, people were literally running away in the night. It was bad. And we nearly lost the whole thing. So the Second Amendment is like, the only way to avoid this in the future is to be well armed and well practiced. And so we need to be these things so that we can aid ourselves, aid our neighbors, but come to the aid of the nation when we're called. And so that it is a responsibility for you to own these things and be good at it, and be ready and be willing. And that's the crux of the Second Amendment. And you've got a lot of people out there that, oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, they seem pretty smart, but they're not able to ascertain the meaning of words that are pretty simple and apply it and understand the context. Why? I'm glad we have that. And it should permeate what we're doing and how we think and how we behave, much like we talked about the youth pastor, right? And how those things fundamentally change those kids' lives. I would like for the youth that I come in contact with, the younger people, to ask them some of those questions. Well, what do you think about this? And I wonder why they said that. And what led of this amendment, and why was it so important? Because it may not be what you think that it was, and it may not be what you've been told it is. I want you to go search. I want you to seek what is true about this and come back and tell me what you found. And we'll talk about it. So some kids rep that challenge, some aren't. I hope more get into it. I really do.
Well, it's about patriotism, right? Loving your country and wanting to know why we're the best hope that the world has for democracy. I mean, there's a reason the founding fathers were on their knees, right? When they were writing the Constitution. There's a reason why it was written the way it was written. I mean, God wanted it that way, and the men were listening, and that's why it's the oldest living document that's worked. But you can't ever take that for granted. You have to understand. You have to be educated the right way and listen to the truth and know where to find the truth. And that's when the truth becomes clouded, like what we're experiencing in a lot of the educational systems today in America. It's not doing us any favors. And it's really the grassroots, which I know you're heavily involved with, Michael. Grassroots is crucial to this. The people that know the truth, they need to spread it like wildfire, because that's what's gonna save our nation. Is people really understanding and then fighting for the truth and not giving in and not giving up.
It's not an issue of connectivity, although I would tell you our connections, because of social media and some of these things, I don't think that our connections are as quality as they used to be. I don't think that we use the connections that we have as well as we could. I'm really hoping that through, you mentioned the word grassroots. I really like thinking about this being friend to friend, neighbor to neighbor, whatever else. And when we use the word community, there are some people who think that the word community means like a little small locale, like a zip code or maybe even a neighborhood. That's not what this is. This community is nationwide, possibly even worldwide. And I'd like for people to visit with their community members and welcome and talk with new people so they can come and join the community. And I think that that's what this is really about. We have to have a willingness to do that. I mean, if you've got 2,000 Facebook friends, good for you. But I would really rather see you visit with a couple of them in earnest and say, well, this is what I found when I was looking. What did you find? Well, I haven't looked. Well, maybe you should. Or maybe there's a compelling reason you are or aren't. Let's talk about that too. We need to have those conversations, and we need to have them in meaningful ways. I'm looking forward to more of it.
Agreed. Got to have those conversations. And like I said, it takes one person. The person is you. You're the person that tells a person that tells a person that tells a person. And people have to remember, if you want to keep your First Amendment, you've got to protect your Second Amendment. The Second Amendment protects the First. So if you want your freedom of speech, please join us in spreading the gospel, so to speak, of how to keep our nation strong and solvent. And plus, you're going to have, my grandfather always said, shooting is fun. Go out and have fun. It's also recreational. It's not always about, yes, personal defense is so important. It's vital to your livelihood, but it's also a lot of fun. And the types of friendships and relationships you can build to the shooting community, outstanding, absolutely outstanding.
Well, you're going to spend something for your recreation most of the time, whether that's just a walk and you said, oh, it didn't cost me anything. Yeah, you did. You bought a $170 pair of shoes to do it. I told a friend that the other day, well, it didn't cost me anything to go on a walk. I'm like, oh, those are nice Hokas. Did you get those just to go out on walks? Well, yes. I'm like, oh, the website says they're $175. Okay. So you go to the movie theater, you go out to supper, you play bingo, you go shooting, and it's going to cost you a little bit of something no matter what you do. And shooting can be quite a recreation. I know a lot of people that truly enjoy it. So, I don't mind advertising, and I think that this segues real quickly to something that I want to move into. IFC has on their site, and that's iowafc.org, a group of trusted partners. These are people that we have truly partnered with that invest in us, and they invest back in you. So you can go there as an IFC member and receive these discounts. You can get tangible items, discounts, all these things. But these are people who support IFC, so we can keep doing IFC Warrior Wednesday and all the things associated with it. So go there, check that out, iowafc.org. Those are the trusted partners. We have a raffle. I flash that up on the screen from time to time. That's a fundraising mechanism. We always appreciate and need the membership, because Amy, you know this as well as anybody. If you don't have people that are willing to join and give a little bit of money to the cause, then the cause often stops, because it's hard to do all the work on simply handshakes. You know what I mean? That's not usually enough. And so we appreciate and need funding, whether we like asking for it or not. I particularly don't, but it is necessary. So we encourage those people to do this. And we have talked about it before, but we inked a deal with 9line to do IFC shirts, and they're going to be located for sale at Brownell. So we're going to have our merchandise as we grow this. We're going to have our merchandise available for sale at Brownell, so you can go pick it up there. By all means, when you're there with a Second Amendment partner and protector as big as they are, buy some Brownell stuff while you're there, of course. So anyway, we'll move back into NRA and advocacy here for a little bit. But you told Bill Bockenberg that you were interested in youth programs. Did you say that you were on any other committees?
Yes. So I'm also on the women's committee and the sports shooting committee. So I also had a background being on those committees in the past. So again, it was a natural fit just to keep going. So but they're all hand in hand, which is great. So you have the women's committee that can also include youth, that includes sports shooting. So we're all kind of working hand in hand to advance the cause. Because no offense to men, but I really believe that women and youth are going to be vital to move us forward in membership and advocacy for the Second Amendment, which can also be done through the family. So again, if you're going with making it with a man and a woman and children, different genders coming together as one to advance the cause, you can again incorporate the whole family unit to move forward. And I think that's really important. So again, the programs that we do in those different areas, which all can be found on nra.org, they basically work hand in hand and to advance us forward.
It's kind of funny. We talk about these programs as if most people should know them, or we help direct them to where they need to go so they can learn about them. I don't run across very many people, even some of the people totally immersed in NRA itself, sometimes not even staff members, have a really true grasp of how many moving parts NRA has. My daughter came back from YES and she was flabbergasted, because we had talked about many of these things and she was aware of some, right? She comes back, she's like, did you know they have an adaptive shooting sports program for people with disabilities, whatever else? I'm like, yes, I did. Did you know this? Did you know they train 1 million people a year for free? Did you know this? Did you know that? They have a program for this. They have a realm that offers this opportunity. They have a hunting group. They have a youth hunting group. They offer NRA hunter safety, which is arguably the best hunter safety course in the nation, for free to everybody that wants to take it. And I'm like, yeah, baby, I know that. She's like, well, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I have. They went out the door, or are they out the other? Or maybe it didn't commit to memory bank. But yeah, they do all these things. They show up at our Capitol building every year and help us advance Second Amendment movements. They help us stop anti-Second Amendment stuff. These things go on all the time. And the only way that this works is if I give them a little bit of membership money, give a little bit of money to Isla, and keep the ball bouncing. They can't operate on handshakes any more than IFC can. So, but I love some of the stuff that they do, and there's more available than you can possibly imagine. You could spend days, Amy, and maybe you have. You could spend days on NRA's website going down through and logging all of the information and the programs into memory bank. It would take quite a while to absorb it all. It's truly fancy. For the people out there listening, like, I'll go to it someday. No, you should stop what you're doing, your first opportunity, and you're on your phone anyway, probably. Scroll down through there and take a look. Chase some rabbits, see what might appeal to you, get involved, mention it to others, whatever. But it's unbelievable how much stuff that there is that's for your benefit that they do. So get in there. Don't shy away.
And if you see something that we're missing, please let me or headquarters know. I mean, we want to listen to the membership. We're here for you. So we're always listening to ideas and questions, comments, concerns. But yeah, you have to get on that website to know what we offer, because there's something for everyone. And if there's not, please let us know, and we'll do what we can to make that happen.
So when are you starting the Amy Lovato podcast? I'm curious.
I don't know. Maybe this is my first episode right here, Michael. I don't know. I never really thought about that. I definitely love talking about it, and I feel like God's given me gifts to try to reach people for our cause. So you never know. Maybe that's something that's in my future. I have to see where the road takes me.
You should consider it. I think you're doing well. I remember it's been, I don't know, it's like not quite 3 years ago, we started an NRA State Association monthly meeting and invited people on Zoom. We're still doing it today. Okay. Yes, that's right. So Kathy Wright was on there right out of the chute. And she's like, well, if you should ask her about it, see if she remembers this. But she got on there and she's like, well, you make it sound like doing these podcasts or whatever else are so easy, but I don't know if I can consider myself somebody who could do it. I don't see myself doing it. And this was a Zoom meeting and we were recording it. I'm like, Kathy, you've already done it. What do you mean? I said, you're on an audio video recording right now that we're going to save if somebody else wants to come back and watch it and gain some knowledge from it, that they're able. I said, you've already done it. You have already accomplished the task that you're telling me and others you don't think that you might be able to do. And I could see her light up, and she went right out, I think within a week or two, and offered to be a guest on a podcast. And she came back the next month and say, remember what you mentioned? I'm like, I do. I said it. And she's like, I did. I went and got on a podcast and I had the greatest time, because what she learned is what I think everybody learns. You have something to offer. You have something to visit with somebody else about. There are connections that you and I have, Amy, by having explored this that we didn't have before. And we were very genuine and we're very honest about it. And there are people listening who appreciate that. And they want to hear some of the things that we're talking about, and they want to learn and gain that knowledge, that we mentioned. And so I don't think doing these things is a stretch. I would encourage folks to get out there and make your voice heard, explore, listen, talk to people, learn some things. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and we need you. The gun community needs every patriot. We need all Americans to row together to advance our cause, to keep us safe, and to do something that's just, again, a lot of fun. And I think that, again, there's so many misconceptions about gun owners because of the media and not getting the knowledge, or about the NRA. If you really seek the truth, it will set you free. Not to be preachy, but it's absolutely true.
No, without a doubt, that's the way to go. That's the mic drop moment. So with that, let's wrap things up. That sounds very good. Was there anything that have I ended too abruptly? Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think, again, we've covered so much, and this has just been an awesome opportunity. I want to personally thank you, Michael, for what you do. It's so important. And again, we're all on the same team here. We're all trying to do what's best for our country. And I know we're here for people that are still questioning things. We'd love to have conversations with you. And if there's anything that I can personally do, I would love to be able to help people get more involved and just be part of this wonderful community.
It's fantastic. I'm thank you for your kudos. It's not me. I just carve out a little bit of time to have these conversations. I do the fun stuff. It's the board and our executive committee. We have a fleet of people that work gun shows Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And I'm assuming that they're ending those shows with aching feet, fallen arches and all the things associated, standing on, concrete for 3 days straight. They go and do these things. They put on the Second Amendment Day and the IFC packs up, or they do all these things for the benefit of others. And so it's a privilege being able to visit with you and have these conversations. I'm just doing the fun stuff. Everybody else is truly doing the work. And then you've got people who contribute financially and with their time and their engagement. Yeah. That's the membership, and that's what makes this work. So thank everybody for that. I'm looking forward to being I guess I probably wouldn't be so heady as to say the first, But I'd like to be among the first, I don't know, dozen or so people to show up on the Amy Lovato podcast. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, you got it. I'm on
Amy
it.
Lovato, thank you. NRA board member, longtime advocate, Colonel Cooper's granddaughter, and all the things associated with it. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming on IFC's Warrior Wednesday. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Bye now.